Settle in, lie back, don't look. There is nothing under your bed. I know that because I am telling you so, and because I would not lie to you at bedtime. Bedtime is not for lies. Bedtime is for clean truths and soft voices, and the simple understanding that the day is over now and nothing else is required of you except stillness. There is nothing under your bed. Of course, you feel like there might be. Everyone feels that way sometimes. Children feel it, and adults feel it too. But adults are better at not saying it out loud, because saying it out loud makes it real. And we're not doing that tonight. You're safe. You are dry. You are warm. You are horizontal. You are exactly where you should be. There is nothing under your bed. Beds are for sleeping. Beds are for resting bones and quiet thoughts and bodies that have been upright for far too long. Beds are not gateways. Beds are not thresholds. Beds are not invitations. Beds are furniture. Furniture does not conceal ancient listening things. There is nothing under your bed. You don't need to check. You already checked earlier, didn't you? Maybe with your toes, carefully reaching down, like you were testing the temperature of a lake you didn't actually want to swim in. Maybe with your eyes, a quick glance when you turned off the light, just to confirm that shadows were being normal about it tonight. They were. Shadows always are. Shadows are just the absence of light. And the absence of light is not a presence, no matter how much it wants to pretend otherwise. There is nothing under your bed. If there were something under your bed, which there isn't, it would be very rude of it to wait until now. You have had a long day. You brushed your teeth. You changed into pajamas. You followed the sequence of events that signal to the universe that you are done participating for the next several hours. It would be deeply inconsiderate for anything to interrupt that. And the universe, for all its faults, is nothing if not indifferent. There is nothing there because the universe does not care enough to put something there. That's comforting, isn't it? Indifference is comforting. Indifference means you don't matter. And not mattering is very peaceful when you think about it correctly. There is nothing under your bed. You might be thinking about the space under the bed now. I wish you wouldn't do that. Thinking about it gives it a sort of attention it doesn't deserve. Empty spaces don't like being thought about. They get ideas. But it's fine. It's still fine. Thinking about it doesn't change anything. Nothing is still nothing, even if you notice it. Especially if you don't look. Beds sit low to the ground for practical reasons. Stability, gravity, the fact that humans don't like falling out of them in the night. Low beds mean less room for dust, and dust is annoying, and you already have enough annoying things in your day. Nothing important would choose to live in a place full of dust. Nothing vast would crouch. Nothing old would need to hide. There is nothing under your bed. Listen. Do you hear that? Of course you don't. That's the point. Silence is what nothing sounds like. Silence is the sound of there being no reason at all to open your eyes right now. Your house is doing its normal house noises, the soft tick of cooling materials, the distant hum of system you don't understand and don't need to. Houses make those noises whether or not anyone is paying attention. The bed makes a small sound when you shift your weight. That's just the bed being a bed. Beds creak, floors settle. The world adjusts itself constantly, and none of it is about you. That's good. That's very good. There is nothing under your bed. If there were something under your bed, which, again, there is not, it would not be personal. Whatever you're imagining, you're giving it far too much credit. You are not special enough to be targeted. You are one of billions. You are a statistical rounding error. You are barely a blip. This is meant to help. Cosmic things don't care about individuals. They don't notice beds. They don't notice bedrooms. They don't notice the way your heart beats a little louder when the room is dark. They certainly don't wait. There is nothing under your bed. Please stop imagining shapes. Darkness does not make shapes. Your brain makes shapes. Your brain is trying to be helpful. Your brain is very tired. It has been solving problems all day, and now it wants to invent one so you don't fall asleep and leave it alone with itself. That's rude of your brain. You don't have to indulge it. There is nothing under your bed. The space beneath you is small, smaller than it feels, smaller than you are thinking. You could measure it if you wanted to, earlier in the light, with a ruler, like a normal person. There is a finite amount of room there. Finite things are manageable. Infinite things don't fit, and nothing infinite would try. There is nothing under your bed. Time passes differently when you're lying still. Seconds stretch, minutes fold in on themselves. Your thoughts get louder because there's nothing else competing with them. That's normal. That doesn't mean anything is approaching. Approaching requires intent. Intent requires interest. interest requires awareness. You are not worth awareness. Please understand that this is good news. There is nothing under your bed. If you feel like the air is heavier, that's just night air. Night air settles. It pressures down gently, like a blanket you didn't realize had weight until it was already there. That pressure is not a presence. Pressure is physics. Physics is safe. Physics is predictable. Physics does not whisper. There is nothing under your bed. You might be tempted to hang your arm over the side just to prove something to yourself. Don't do that. Not because anything would happen, nothing would, but because it's bad for circulation and you'll wake up with pins and needles, and then you'll be grumpy in the morning. We are avoiding unnecessary discomfort. There is nothing under your bed. Sleep is important. Sleep is when you stop monitoring the world so closely. Sleep is when you trust that things will continue being the way they were without your supervision. And they will. They always do. They have no reason not to. There is nothing under your bed. Do you remember being told this before? Of course you do. This is not the first time you've needed to hear it. That should tell you something. Reassurance only has to be repeated when it works. If it didn't work, we'd stop saying it. There is nothing under your bed. You don't need to prove it to yourself. Proof is overrated. Proof leads to curiosity, and curiosity is how things get complicated. Curiosity killed the cat. And you're not a cat, are you? You're not responsible for knowing everything. You are responsible for resting. Let the unknown remain unknown. Unknown things behave better that way. There is nothing under your bed. Sometimes people talk about feeling watched. That's just your brain again, projecting patterns onto silence. Silence doesn't watch. Silence doesn't care. Silence is not a pair of eyes adjusting to the dark. Silence is empty. Empty is harmless. There is nothing in the emptiness because you would have noticed earlier. When you were smaller, maybe. When you were more honest about being afraid. But you didn't. You grew up. You learned which fears were acceptable and which ones were embarrassing. This one is embarrassing. Embarrassing fears aren't real. There is nothing under your bed. The bed supports you. The floor supports the bed. The earth supports the floor. Layers upon layers of trust, stacked neatly, holding you exactly where you are. Nothing slips through that many agreements. Nothing breaks that many rules. There is nothing under your bed. You are thinking about rules now, about what happens when rules are broken, about how fragile agreements can be when no one is watching. Stop that. That's not a bedtime thought. There is nothing under your bed. Sleep is not surrender. Sleep is maintenance. Sleep is what keeps you functional. Sleep is not when things get you. Things don't get people. That's not how reality works. Reality is very boring. That's why you're safe. There is nothing under your bed. If the darkness feels closer, that's because your eyes are closed. Close them properly. Don't squint. Squinting lets light in, and light makes shadows, and shadows are very annoying about being noticed. Just close your eyes. There is nothing under your bed. Breathe in. Breathe out. Count if you need to. Counting is good. Numbers are finite. Numbers behave themselves. Numbers don't stretch forever and ever, reaching out to grasp at something from underneath. Numbers are boring. They wouldn't do. There is nothing under your bed. You're doing very well. You're staying very still. That's excellent. Stillness is exactly what's required. Stillness keeps everything balanced. Stillness doesn't attract attention. Not that there's anything to attract. Soon you won't even be thinking about this at all. Your thoughts will blur. Words will lose their edges. The idea of under will stop making sense because direction dissolves when you're asleep. And when there is no under, there can't be anything there. There is nothing under your bed. Good. That's right. Just like that. Nothing is happening. Nothing has ever happened. Nothing is waiting for you. And there is nothing under your